Hey everyone, in this video we're going to look at how to create a crafting system using Game Creator 2, the inventory module of Game Creator 2. We're going to take a look at crafting and how to create items that are craftable and how to dismantle items using the dismantling station that I've created here. So we're going to create all of this right now, so let's get started. So what I'm going to do right now is I need a crafting station to start with. So let's just create a cube, and this could be any model you want to bring in. I'm just going to call it a alchemy workbench. I'm going to have one for alchemy, just like in a game, and I'm going to have one for different types of things you can craft. So this one will be for alchemy or for consumables, and I'm just going to give it a color. So it's going to be prototype color blue. And so that's going to be for alchemy. And then I'm going to, for this, I'm going to put a hotspot on it so that when the player approaches it on interaction focus, then we can um, show the floating text. And there's one that comes with the examples called interaction tooltip focus, which is a good one we can use for this. And then we're just going to put alchemy station, the text. And the offset needs to be up, otherwise it'll be in the middle of the cube and not on top, on floating above it. So we've got that, and now we want to do a trigger for interaction. So when we interact with the cube, we want to do something. So interactive on interact. And then the instruction we can use to bring up the crafting UI would be the inventory UI, open Tinker UI. So that's the crafting UI. So open Tinker UI requires a couple of parameters here. So the Tinker skin is the UI skin that it's going to use. So craft alchemy list, craft forge list, and the dismantle workbench list are the ones that are provided with the examples. The only difference between alchemy and forge is actually the uh, sound effects that they play when you actually do the crafting. So alchemy has different sound effects than forge. If we look at these, I'm just going to set mine to alchemy list. But if we look at this is all it is it points to a prefab. So if we look at this prefab, the UI craft alchemy list, this is what this crafting interface is going to look like. So it's going to have this screen here, and then this this opens up when you click on something. It'll have a list of things you can craft, and then this is the crafting itself once you select one of the items. So yeah, so the only difference here is the crafting selection. And now every time I click on this, I get this property get audio error, but you can ignore it. It doesn't do it. It doesn't really cause any problems. But so then if you look at crafting selection, which is the whatever you've selected here, you've got your options here with the crafting item UI. So it tells it which button it is that for crafting, that's this one. And then the progress and the ingredient UI, etc. And then it plays a sound. So the alchemy crafting and the alchemy craft complete. So if I look here at the alchemy list at the parent here, there's a Tinker UI component in here, which you need if you're going to create your own screen for this. You need this Tinker UI. So it's telling you the selected UI. That's that crafting selection, the right hand side basically, and then there's a crafting item UI prefab, which is like the name and the number of the things that is going to be crafted, I think, the count. And then, so yeah, because this is the alchemy list, there is this filter by parent here. And you might think that this filter by parent, you could set it to alchemy, you could set it to consumable, for instance. But this actually doesn't work, doesn't really work that way. So we want to leave that blank. That's why it's blank. Because when we come out here to our alchemy trigger here, we have to, this filter item is set to none, and it's going to override whatever you put in that UI. So basically it'll make it none, and then there won't be any filtering. So without a filter, we're going to see everything that can be crafted. So then we're going to put wait to close. So let's just see what it looks like without any filters. So let's make that bigger. So we have our alchemy station, and press E, and now I get a list of everything that I can craft. So it includes shields, etc., and swords, and the ingots, etc., which would be at a forge station, not an alchemy station. So that's why we have the filter item. So we're going to set it to consumable, because we want to craft health potions. So let's do that. So now we're going to hopefully craft a health potion. But so if we look by default, you don't see anything. And we're going to find out why by looking at the item itself. So if we look at a health potion, so for crafting, there's a section in the item that tells you if you can craft it or not. So crafting section here, you list out the ingredients, which are just items too. The ingredients that you need to craft this. So we need 1 spiritus and 2 red herbs in order to craft a health potion. And then this crafting checkbox has to be checked. And the can combine, we'll go over that in a minute. That is off by default. And then there's some conditions. You can actually put some conditions in here. So this one is here as part of the examples. It's looking at the local name variable on the player called no health potion, and if it equals true, then it allows you to craft the item. So basically, this is how you would keep track of whether or not your player knows the recipe for that crafting. So if you have crafting recipes, so if we go to the player, and before I go to the player, just cover the dismantle section as well. You can have conditions on that, and you can have instructions that play after it's crafted as well, so or dismantled. So if you want to allow the player to dismantle the item, then you click the checkbox, and then the player can deconstruct it and get back some of or all of their ingredients back. So we'll see that in a bit. But for now, I'm going to go back to the player and see the no health potion. By default, the player that I had did not have a local name variable, so I added one. So we have this no health potion. If we set it to true, then we'll see that we'll be able to see it on the list of things to craft. So if we go in here now, we have a health potion now that can be crafted. So to do that, though, we need 1 spiritus and 2 red herbs. And we only have 1 out of 2, so that these are red because we don't have enough, so we can't craft it. So what we need to do is give the player or allow the player to pick up some crafting ingredients. So like a lot of video games where you have to go around and collect ingredients, we can put some of those out. Pickups. We have some pickups here that come with the example. So we have the spiritus here, so we'll just put that out. It's like a little We look at it, it's like a little bottle. And then we want 2 red or 1 more red herb, I guess. The player already has 1 in his bag, so we'll give him 1 extra 1. And those already have the hotspots on them, so and the interactions on them, so it automatically will allow you to pick those up because it's already set up. And so we've got those, and now we can go into the crafting. And now they're green because we have enough of those items. So if we hit craft, it plays that those sound effects get played, and now it goes into the player's bag. So if we go to the player's inventory, now we have another health potion. We had 1, now we have 2 health potions. And then the other ingredients are not there anymore. So that's simple crafting. So if we want to see how to deconstruct it back into the other ingredients, we can put a deconstruction workbench out. So I'm gonna like duplicate this and we will give it a different color, maybe red, and because we're deconstructing. So let's see, deconstruction station. And what we're gonna do here is change this to the dismantle workbench list. And we'll get rid of the filter item as well. So you can dismantle anything in this workbench and wait to close. So let's look at that. So for the dismantling station, if we look at the skin, the UI dismantle workbench list, there's actually another separate uh, dismantle UI. So you're at the Tinker UI here, and the dismantle items is part of this Tinker UI. So if you're going to be dismantling items, you use this part. So there's a dismantle selection UI. So what we want is to click that. That's the right side of the dismantling, but here's where it does all the magic, I guess. The dismantling item UI component is what controls that. And so uh, it'll be, the button will be active if you can dismantle it. There's a dismantling button. Dismantle selection, right? Active if can tinker, right? The dismantle selection, that's this component actually. So, and then there's a progress bar and the ingredient UI, which shows the ingredients that you need. That's going to be showing up in there, or it shows what ingredients you're going to get back. And then we have the recover chance. So here the recover chance is set to 1, which means you have a 100% chance of recovering all of your ingredients. So if you set that to like 0.5, for instance, you won't get everything back. You'll only get like half of the ingredients back. So depending on whether or not you want to be able to dismantle and get everything back or just get a portion of it back, you can set your recover chance accordingly. And you could even set it to a random number if you wanted to, like a random range between, let's say, 0 and 1. And then it would, or if you not do a decimal. And so basically, it could be 0, it could be 1, or it could be something in between. So you can set your recovery chance that way. And the player already has a health potion, so I'm going to just try and deconstruct this instead. So let's do that. Go to the deconstruct. So it gives you the options of what can you deconstruct, because I already have those in my inventory. So the health potion can be dismantled, and it's going to retrieve one of these and two of these, right? So click dismantle, and it's dismantled. So no more is it on here. And if I go to my inventory, then I have the spiritus and two more of these herbs, and I could just go over here and craft it again if I wanted to. Okay, so there we go. Simple crafting and deconstruction. In the open the workbench command, it's the input. You can give it a different input and output bag. By default, it's set to the player, so all the items come out of the player's main inventory bag and it goes back into the inventory bag as well. But you could set these to different bags if you had other objects like a chest or something that had an output, or say, let's say the player was working in a store and then and they were like responsible for crafting things in the store. So then the player would put something into an input chest and it will go into an output chest or something like that. So there's different things you can do like that. So we're going to look now at the other items we can craft here. So here's so shield metal, for instance. It's craftable. Let's see. You need 6 ingots for that. So ingots are here, ingredient ingot metal, it's called. So you can craft it and you can dismantle it. There's no conditions, so there's no recipe you have to learn, for example. And then the can combine is not set either, so we'll see what that does in a little bit. But for now, let's look at the ingot. So the ingot, now by default, this ingot is not craftable because it's part of the examples. You get a pickup that you can just put it out. You can just put it out in the world and get an ingot easily. But a lot of games you don't just get ingots like that. You have to you mine the ore from the ground, and then you can craft the ingots, and then you use the ingots to craft the shields. So if you want to do that instead, more like a real game does, what we can do is okay, we're gonna delete these ingots. We're gonna craft them instead. So the ingot metal item. So if we go to the ingot metal, we go to the crafting section. We want to have ingredients that we can use to craft it. So we want to create a new, like a metal, or say, I don't know what you want to craft it out of, but like iron ore or something like that. Say iron ore. So we could create an item called iron ore. So if I just go in here and we can create game creator, inventory item, and we're going to call it iron ore. So the parent could be an ingredient because we're using it as an ingredient to create something else. The prefab, we don't need a prefab. Can drop, we're going to say no. We're not going to allow the player to drop it. And then we can give it a string, a name. Used to craft armor and weapons. The sprite, we can give it something. I don't really have an ore, something that looks like ore or anything like that, but we could use like a circle or something like that. If we go back to the ingot, we can make it craftable. So let's allow it to be crafted. And we can add the ingredients. So let's put in the iron ore. And now let's say one ingot is 2 iron ores. So you can craft 1 from 2 iron ores. So now we have the item created, but we want to create an ore, like a prefab for the ore, so that the player can go and actually pick it up. So I'm going to create like a sphere, let's say, and we're going to call it iron ore. And probably going to need to make it smaller. It's pretty big. So let's scale that down to 0.2 maybe. Something like that, 0.25. And then we're going to give it a, I don't know, give it a color, black maybe. We'll make it black. And then, so what we need to do on this is to have a hotspot and an interaction trigger so that the player can pick it up. So what we want is, let's do the hotspot. Actually, we need, so trigger on interaction. We want to check that if the player can pick this up first. So check conditions, add condition, inventory, can add. So here we go. It returns true if the item can be added to the bag. So maybe the bag is full and you wouldn't be able to add it. So that's why we have to check this. So the item, um, we want to refer to this item, right? So the item, you can put it this way, I guess. Or like in the examples, they do it a little bit different. What they do is there's a local variable, a local name variable called item, and the value is an inventory item, and then they use the item here. So let's do that. So we have item iron ore. So then instead of hard coding the item here, you just have one place right here in the variable where you are doing it. So instead of having this like this hard coded multiple places, I guess you can have it just stored here in the variable. So we look for the local name variable on the self, and because this arrow doesn't work when you're saying self, but we can just say item, which is the name of the variable. So if we can add that item to the player, then we will just say add item, and again we go to the local name variable, self item to player, and then we can destroy self because we don't want this to stick around after the player has picked it up. So we've got that iron ore. So that's all we have to do. We want to make this a prefab so that so prefabs. We'll make it a prefab. So we have there. So then we can put multiple iron ores around the scene. And let's see here. Put a bunch. And then let's see if we can pick them up. Okay. I didn't put the hotspot on them. That's why. I'm going to move them up a little bit too, because they're inside the ground, I think. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So I'm going to add a hotspot to them, or to the, at least to that. Let's add a hotspot. So we want on interaction focus, and we want, so instead of a hard-coded string here, what we can do is look at again, tooltip interaction focus. Interaction tooltip focus, okay. Okay, so instead of local name variable here, okay, we're gonna say inventory item name. So we have some things we can use. So item name, we can get the name of the item, and then from this, we'll look at that local name variable called item, and then this will be up 010. Okay, so that way it will show the item's name, this item's name, on interaction focus. So that way we don't have to hard code that text. So now, yeah, so now we're seeing it. So we can pick these up now. And then, okay, so, however, we need to have a different crafting station because we don't have one that, this one is for alchemy. So let's create like a forge. Oh, so we're going to duplicate this, put that over there, make it a different color. Let's say green. And then this is going to be forge. And then on interact, what we want here is instead of consumable, we want ingredient, I think, because we're crafting. That one had ingredient as its parent, so let's see if that works. Oh, and we probably want a different skin too. We want the forge skin because it's got a different sound effect. So we'll use the forge. Okay. So let's pick up some of these first. I have 2. That should be enough. There's the iron ore. Now, oh, it's not stacking. If we want to stack it, let's do that quickly. So iron ore, call it, okay, the iron ore. The item, iron ore, we want to be able to stack it. So in the shape area here, we can say max stack. So we could say 10, for instance, and then we'll be able to stack them in the inventory and not have them take up all your inventory. And there we go. So yeah, now we have, it's hard to see because of the white, but there's a number 6 there. So we have 6 of them. So let's go to this new station and see that we can now craft the metal ingot. It requires 2, so we can craft this and create 3 ingots. You might see my character behind there was actually doing an animation. So here, this is how that animation was being done. So on start and on complete. So in your crafting selection here, in the crafting item UI, there's an on start and an on complete. So I just had put this in here earlier you can make a new state for the player so that they're hammering it. So I just did that. So play UI sound ForgeCraft start, and that was there already. The ForgeCraft complete. So if you want to put an animation so your player is hammering or something like that when you're forging, what I did was created a state called hammering, and in that state it's just a looping human hammering um, animation right here. Now this is from Kevin Iglesias, Human Animations. So if you want to take a look at the asset store, there's Kevin Iglesias has a pack called Human Crafting Animations. So if we look at that in the asset store, you should wait till it's on sale though. You can get it a lot cheaper, but that's the crafting animations. So we're gonna need more ore so I'm gonna just like duplicate some of these. If we want to craft one of the items, so what we can do, or we can deconstruct some too. So let's just take a look here. Oh, I need one more crafting station, one for the blacksmith. So let's do this one. Call it blacksmith. And give it a different color. Let's just give it a brown, like a brown or something. And then this will be the blacksmith. So let's see. And we're going to use equipment as the filter item on that one. So now we can craft equipment. So let's just pick up these first and then, so let's see. So this is what we could craft. We don't have any armor right now, and you need 12 ingots for that. So let's see if I can get 12 ingots out of the things that I have now. So let's try and do that. So let's pick up all these. Okay, and now that's the alchemy. Go to the forge, make some ingots. Okay, that's all we can do. We have 6 ingots. Now we have 6 there. And we want to, let's try, so we only have 6. We need 12. So I'm going to try to deconstruct some other things to get some ingots out of it, maybe. Let's see. So we can deconstruct the helmet, and we'll see what we get. We're going to get 4 ingots out of it. And I'm going to dismantle my shield. I'm going to get, well, you can get 6 out of it. There we go. So we should have enough now to craft that armor, which I didn't have in my inventory. So now we have an armor. Now if I look at my inventory, I will, where's the armor? Right here. There it is. Full body armor, equip. And there we are. We have the armor. So the only last thing to cover in this crafting, in the crafting stuff, is the combine feature. So let's take a look at the combine feature. So if we go and look at the health potion, I think. So what we can do here is say can combine. So you have 1 spiritus and 2 red herbs. So let's just see. The can combine, what it does, if I'm just going to pick up those items. Can combine allows you, when you have 2 ingredients only, just 2 ingredients in a recipe, then you can actually craft them by dragging and dropping one on top of the other. So if I drag the spiritus on top of the 2 red herbs, then it would allow me, right now it's not doing it, because by default it just rearranges your inventory, right? So let's change that and go in here and say can combine, and then we'll go get those ingredients, go back in here, and now I can, instead of, how many do I have here? I have one health potion, so this will now combine right in your inventory. So those disappear, and now you get another health potion. So that is an alternative way of crafting items directly in your inventory screen. But that only works with 2 ingredients, so that you can drag one on top of the other. But you might want that for your game, so it's a useful feature in case you want to do it that way, instead of having separate crafting stations. Yeah, the other thing you might want to do is when you're in these inventory screens or in these crafting screens. Right now I can move my character around, and that probably shouldn't be allowed, because your character could go way over here and then you could still be crafting, right? So what we want to do is disable that on these. So I'll just do it on one of them. So on the forge here, we're gonna just, all we have to do is in the on interact, you just add some instructions here to make the player not controllable. And then we will do the opposite after the crafting is done. So then we want the change sensitivity of the camera shot. So let's take the camera shot to 0, and that would be right there. So then the camera won't move around. And then I'm going to copy that and put it back to 1. And we have to re-specify the camera. And so that's all we need to do, really. So that when we go in here, now we can't move around. We're not moving around. The WASD does nothing, and then while we're in here, we can just be in here and not control the character. So, and then afterwards, we get to control the character again as usual. All right, so that is how the crafting system works in Game Creator 2. So hopefully this has been helpful for you, and now you could add a crafting system to your game. So that's it for this video. If you would like the video, please leave a like down below. Leave your comments, and if you'd like to be a patron, you can check out the Patreon, and there's also a link to the Discord below where you could come into the Discord and ask me questions in there. And so that's it for this video, and we'll see you in the next one.